Hi everyone, it's Crafty Tina's. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make 3 different shadow boxes. And this video is different because they are different depths. That means this is how deep the shadow box is, and that also means the frame is wider. We have a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 inch, and a 1 inch. Normally when we make shadow boxes lately, we have been using the shadow box punch board. People are having trouble getting this punch board as it is out of stock. It is also limited to just being the 1/2 inch. You can't make anything any thicker. That means the frame thicker or the actual box depth. This board is limited to just the 1/2 inch. Now we can make any size we want because I have a guide that can tell you all the different squares and all the different rectangles you can use. However, for this board, it's only 1/2 inch. So we're not going to use this board in this video. The only thing we're going to use is our scoring board and some templates that my husband has made for me. I am going to show you how to make these templates using either cardstock or chipboard, whatever you have that you can cut into the right size. I'm going to show you how to calculate. Don't worry, it's simple. How to calculate the numbers so that you can make 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and even 1 inch shadow boxes. Now, before we get started, I want to let you know that these templates are not my own concept, my own design. I just simply woke up one morning with this idea, drew it out, and had my husband cut it out on acrylic, giving me the proper measurements for the template to cut out the corners. This is how you have to cut out the corners in order to get it to fold into the shadow box. I didn't redesign, or reinvent the wheel. It is just how you have to cut it in order to get the shadow box. Actually making these templates, including a T-square, a little L square here, not a T-square, a little square, was all my idea, and I'm so grateful that my husband was able to take my very messy hand-drawn idea and turn it into 3 different templates with my little L square. So let's talk about what you need to make these shadow boxes, because this is very different than we're used to. We are used to being able to take my guide with the starting paper and make our template. Let's start out with the 1/2 inch. For the 1/2 inch shadow box, the very largest you can make using the punch board, not today, using the punch board, is an 8 by 8. If you start with a piece of 12 by 12 paper, the biggest you can make is an 8 by 8 because you need all of this room to make the frame. This is the 1/2 inch. This is the largest frame you can make using a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock if you are doing a 3/4 inch frame. See how much smaller this is than the piece of paper? That is because you need all of this room around the frame to make the frame if you're using one piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to show you today how you can do 2 different ways to make the same shadow box. You can either use one piece of cardstock, cutting the corners out and making this frame, or I'm going to show you how you can make this frame using a back and 4 sides so that you can make a 3/4 inch shadow box larger than this. And I know you're thinking, how is that possible? This is a 6 by 6 frame made out of one piece of 12 by 12 paper with 3/4 inch framework around it. Using the method I'm going to show you, you're going to be able to make a 8 inch frame with a separate back and 4 sides. To put it together, now I have an 8 inch frame, much bigger than this. So you can make it using one sheet or 5 different pieces. Super easy and simple, so don't be afraid, but we can make our frames bigger. With that same thing in mind, when it comes to the 1 inch, which is a very big frame, it's very deep. When it comes to the 1 inch, this right here, believe it or not, is this sheet of cardstock. It takes this much extra to make 1 inch framework to make the shadow box. See how tiny this is? There's no way you're going to be able to get anything of any substance inside this little shadow box. So we needed a way to make this shadow box, being 1 inch, bigger. And I have a way to do that. So now that we know we are making 3 different sizes now, and you can see the different depths when I hold it like this. This is 1/2, 3/4, and 1. It's thicker this way, and it's also thicker here. 1/2, 3/4, and 1. Ready to see the fun? First thing I'm going to do is we're going to start with a single sheet 12 by 12. I'm going to flip this over because that yellow is a little bit rough. We're going to start with a single sheet, and I'm going to show you how to make a template and how to use this single sheet of cardstock. And we are going to make the 3/4 inch frame using 1 piece of cardstock. Then I'm going to show you how to make the 8 inch frame, which is still the 3/4. I'm just showing you the middle size. The concept works with everything. Then I'm going to show you how to make this frame, which is an 8 by 8, using a back and 4 sides. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make one using a 1 sheet. That is what this punch board does. This punch board punches out this unique shape. It's not that it's unique, it's just the way you have to cut it in order to get your 4 sides. This is how it cuts out. I'm going to show you using a template that you can cut this shape out proportioned to a bigger size shadow box, because this will only fold up to a 1/2 inch, because these are 1/2 inch markings. This is my 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. Just like using the punch board, I need to score it on all 4 sides. Because I want this shadow box to be 3/4, not a 1/2, I need to make 3/4 inch scoring lines. I'm going to use our scoring tool. This is the works board, by the way. It's by We Are Memory Keepers. It can score or cut, so you want to make sure you put the scoring side, and that's the flat side. This side is cutting, it's flat. This side has a ridge here, it's flat on this side. So we're going to put that inside. We're not going to worry about the cutter because we're only going to be using the scoring tool. Now we're going to score this 12 by 12 on all 4 sides, just like we would be doing on our board. These are 1/2 inch. We're going to score 3/4. There's no way to score 3/4 on this board anyway. So even if we could, and even if you had this board, you could not make the 3/4 inch. So let's make the 3/4 inch shadow box. Starting with a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, you're going to score 4 sections at 3 1/4 wide. So the first one is going to be the 3/4, 3 1/4. 3/4 again makes this 1 1/2. 3/4 again is 2 1/4. And 3/4 again is 3. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections scored on this side. We're going to turn the paper and do the same thing again. 3/4 or 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. Again, we have to do all 4 sides. 3 1/4, 1 1/2. I didn't get that one started good. You want to make sure you go slow enough that these lines are straight. I know sometimes it's easy to get off depending on how thick your cardstock is. It is going to be important, 2 1/4, to make sure they're straight. The straighter these are, the straighter your frames will be. We stopped at 2 1/4 and 3. We're going to flip it to the last side. We're going to do 3 1/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. I just simply went 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, and 3/4. Now we have our cardstock all scored on all 4 sides. We can slide this out of the way. Now for this demonstration, I'm going to cut off my 2 lights. I wanted you to be able to see these for a moment. These are just clear acrylic. My husband has laser cut and etched them for me. You can see them better cutting off the lights because there's not so much of a glare. We have 3 sizes. We have a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 inch, and a 1 inch. Now I have a prior video showing you that you can make shadow boxes with your scoring board for the 1/2 inch. And we cut out this in cardstock to show you how to do it. Very simple, very easy. These 3 are a little bit different. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. If we are using one piece, we are not going to use the pointy section. That one is only for making if we're making it in pieces, and I will show you that in a little bit. But I wanted you to see how pretty these were. We have to give hubby credit. They're absolutely beautiful. They're wonderful templates. So I have a L square and my 3/4 inch. He even put 3/4 inch shadow box by Crafty Tina's on here for me. There we go. And we're going to put these out of the way. It is the same concept no matter what size. Now I'm going to flip this light back on so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. In order to make this template, you're going to need a piece of cardstock or chipboard, whatever you can cut. If you are using cardstock though, you will have to replace this a little more often because as you write, or if you're using a rotary cutter and you're cutting, you will eventually wear down the cardstock and it will no longer be the exact measurement. You need a piece for the 3/4 inch that is, I wrote it upside down, 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. That is how big this piece of cardstock is. I'm simply showing you what my template looks like. This grayed out area gets cut and taken away. Once you have this 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, take it to your scoring board and score it at 3/4, just like we just did that piece of paper. This will give you this line. That's important because when you're making these cuts, they go to that line. You're going to turn it one time and you're going to make those marks again. And now I have grids on here that are 3/4 inch grids. That makes it super easy for you to cut. You're cutting from this corner to this corner, and this gets taken away. You're cutting from this line to this line, straight across, and straight across. You're cutting these pieces out, and that gives you the same thing I'm going to be working with here today. Now, when you're looking at this and you have your point down here, write Crafty Tina's in the upper right hand corner because I'm going to refer to Crafty Tina's corner for every single cut on this piece of paper. This is in the right hand corner for a reason. It is a guide. So write Crafty Tina's in your upper right hand corner. That will also make you remember where you saw this video so you can come back for a reference. Once you have your template, like I have here, if you have a little L square thing. If you have something that you've used for 90-degree triangles, this is a very good thing to have for this. I'll show you why. You're going to love being able to make sure you're accurate using this. Now we are going to start in the upper right-hand corner. We are going to put Crafty Tina's in the upper right-hand corner. Now you're going to line this up with your cardstock. And what you guys see are really greasy fingers because it's acrylic. You can see all your little greasy fingers. I just finished having pizza. I love to eat while I'm crafting. I took my little L and I put it on my paper. So now it is squared to my paper. My Crafty Tina's corner is going to go in that corner. Now I have this lined up so that I can mark, and I'm going to do it in pencil so that I can mark this angle, straight, angle, straight, angle, and then all. Let me rephrase that. This is one sheet. We are not going to use this bottom section, this little pointy section. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 through 4 on this only. We're not going to use the little pointed section until we start making this in multiple pieces. This will all become perfectly clear once we get started, so don't worry. Once my little L is in the corner, I'm going to put my template in the corner and I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to put 1 mark, 2 mark, 3, 4, and I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do number 5. So now I have a mark here, 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 and here. There's already a fold line here, so you don't have to use this. I like to. I'm going to put this up against my paper again and bring that to that score line and put my mark there. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and my line all the way across. And you can see I got off my score line. When I cut, I'm going to cut on that score line. So now let's do the opposite corner. Again, I'm going to use my little square. I'm going to put it in the corner. Now I'm going to take Crafty Tina's. I don't want to turn it. I want to flip it. So it's still written across. That corner goes into this corner. I simply flipped it. If we were using the punch board, we would be flipping the paper, but since we're not flipping the paper, we're flipping the template. The template gets flipped. Crafty Tina's goes in the upper right-hand corner. Crafty Tina's will never be sideways. It will always be horizontal, but this time it's backwards. I'm going to hold down my template and I'm going to mark 1, 2, 3, and 4. I am not going to mark the 5th. I'm going to flip my little L shape around. I'm going to move this up to my line, to that score line, and make my mark. Now I have these 2 P-looking sections. If you want to know if you have it correct, your main sheet, because you're getting rid of this and this, your main sheet has points. And when you are using your punch board, your main sheet has points. And that's what we're looking for here. Then I know I have done it correctly. Now we need to do the other 4. You do not want to flip your paper. You want to rotate it to get to the bottom. So you're going to turn it once. You don't want it because there's already a corner out. You're going to turn it again. You're basically wanting to be the opposite side to do your corners. And it's the same thing on the punch. Once we punch these 2, we punch, flip, punch, we flip, and punch the bottom. With these little piece sections, little piece shapes, pointing inward. So now we need to do the same thing to the top. We're going to use our little L square here. We're going to take back our template. Crafty Tina's goes in the corner. We're going to put that back in the corner. We're going to grab our pencil. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to flip this around. We're going to put this up to the scoring line, and we're going to make our mark. And now we have a P in the upper right-hand corner. This goes away. Now let's do the other side. Crafty Tina's goes in the corner, so we're going to flip it. Crafty Tina stays horizontal, so you don't want to turn it this way. You want to keep Crafty Tina's horizontal, so it needs to be flipped this way. We're going to put it in the corner, and we're going to mark 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're not doing 5. We're going to bring our little L square to the side. This keeps us lined up. We're basically wanting that scoring line and make our mark because we're getting rid of that. We're only cutting 4 little blocks. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We don't want to cut anymore. There's no more scoring lines to cut. So that's how we know we don't want to cut anymore. We don't want to use this 5th section. I'm going to have hubby put do not use for single sheet. I think that'll help me remember and help me remember to tell you guys. Now I have my pencil marks and we're just going to snip. Now, even though this is hand cutting and I'm not a fan, they are straight lines the entire time, and it's very easy and quick. It's not like I am cutting anything fancy. If your pencil is not on the scoring line, go with the scoring line. The scoring line is where you need to go. Straight down the score line to the next score line. Straight diagonal to the next scoring line. Straight up this scoring line. And then a diagonal from this score line to this score line. And there we have basically our template. It just doesn't have the 5th side. You need this 5th side for the next thing I'm going to show you. That is why it's on our template. Now you can erase any of your pencil marks because you don't want them to show. And you're going to cut the next section. And again, it is super just clip, clip, clip. It's hard to bring it up to the camera and show you guys because it is a 12 by 12. Just going to, instead of marking on the paper, I'm just going to erase my pencil lines. Make them as dark as you need them. Don't be afraid to erase them. You need them dark to make sure you can follow along, or just follow along with the actual scoring lines. The pencil is just showing you if it's straight across, like this one, or if it's a diagonal, like this one, straight across, like this one, and a diagonal, like this one. Because they are just snip, 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 I'm okay with doing it by hand. I've done several of these just to make sure it worked, just so I can make sure that I'm explaining it to you guys correctly. And you're just making straight cuts. Super easy, super simple. And now we have our paper cardstock cut out, just like if we had used our actual punch board. But remember, our punch board cannot do 3/4 inch frames. It can only do half. Now we're ready to fold it up, glue it, and see what we have. You're going to start with the ones with the points. You're going to fold, Remember, the straighter you get, the straighter your actual ending is going to be. So if you want to make sure your points touch the score line on each side, that will help make sure that it's straight. This should line up to your score line. That will help you make sure it's straight. And then our last one here. This is simply going to roll around to be our 3/4 inch frame. We're going to go to the other side. This is a little bit thicker cardstock than I usually use, but I wanted it to be durable so I can show you guys multiple times. Now this looks a little larger than this. It may be my scoring line or it may be how I folded it. So I'm going to go back and make sure that I folded it correctly. This scoring line matching this scoring line. There we go. That's why I said it's important to make your scoring lines straight and it's important to make your folds proper. Now we're going to do the two ends. Again, you can make sure, because sometimes you're going to cut crooked, line it up with your scoring line. And again, line it up with your scoring line. This one you can line up to the edge of your paper. No matter what cutting mechanism you use and no matter what scoring mechanism you use, always check your paper. Make sure it is actually 12 by 12. I have a few 12 by 12 pieces that are off, that are not 12 by 12. So always check your paper, but also know your actual cutting tools. Some cutting boards are not straight. We just keep folding, going all around. If you haven't seen my other videos, make sure you check them out now that you can make these without the board, because I show you how to do a lot of decorating. Now I have all four sides. We are going to start with the pointies. So we're going to do both the pointed sides and then the straight sides. I'm going to use a hot glue pen. You simply want to make your square. And then for me, after I make my square and it's tucked in, I'm going to lay it flat. And then I'm going to put my hot glue underneath the edge. I'm using a hot glue pen, not a regular hot glue gun. And now my frame will stand up perfectly. Now I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to make my square. And when I say square, I mean it's going to look like that. Can you guys see that? So I make my square, make sure it's tucked in properly up against the edge. Then I'm going to lay it down. And I'm going to use my hot glue pen. I'm just putting a small bead under there. That's all it takes. And it is secure instantly. I'm really enjoying hot gluing these frames. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, but I need to tuck the edges into the slanted cuts on each side. See how I have that tucked in? It's underneath the slant. So once I have done that, and I know it closes properly, I'm going to lay it down, and then I'm going to put my hot glue underneath. And then I'm going to sneeze, and then I'm going to add hot glue to the inside corner of the straight piece. So I'm going to put one here and here. Then I'm going to close it and instantly push down so that it touches the glue. The only downfall I have found is the strings. The hot glue strings drive me nuts. But it's instantly secure. So I love that part. I can live with the strings. So now I want to do the last side. You're tucking it in, making sure that it fits properly. Then you're laying it down, gluing, turning it around, and now I'm going to add just a little hot glue to the corner that gets tucked underneath the angle. I'm going to go here and here. We're going to do it quickly because hot glue is quick. So you need to do both quick and put a little bit of weight, not much because this is cardstock, just a little bit of weight so that the actual mitered edge touches the corner you put glue on. And now I have the sturdiest, I mean guys, look at this, the sturdiest shadow box. And I was able to make this into 3/4 inch instead of our 1/2 inch. Look how much thicker both the side view and the front view. Look how much thicker it is. How cool, right? But what if this was an entire sheet of paper, guys? The entire sheet. What if I wanted to make it this size, but I wanted to make 3/4 inch sides? How would I do that? The same thing with this little guy. How would I make this bigger? Because I am limited to one sheet. Well, we're not really limited anymore. Let me show you how you can use your template to make the shadow box in sections. And trust me, it is not difficult. It is actually super easy. I made this one, and I made this one a little different. That is because I determined I wanted it to be sturdy. Yes, these are sturdy, but this is flimsy on the inside. What if I wanted it sturdy? So I make a lot of notebooks using the cinch, and I decided I wanted to put chipboard for my back because now that I'm going to make this in sections, I have options. I'm also no longer limited to the inside of my box looking like the back of my paper. See, this was a yellow looking paper with the cardboard looking beige back. I normally would cut out another piece of cardstock and add it inside to give me the color that I wanted. Well, if I'm going to do that anyway, then it doesn't matter what this looks like. This can always be this beige looking chipboard. So here's how I did this shadow box. Again, super easy, just as easy as using the one sheet, but we're going to use one back, and this is an 8x8. So we're going to have a piece of 30-point chipboard, so it's very thick. I'm not folding it, bending it, or doing anything to it but gluing something on top of it. So I can use chipboard. I can use anything I want as long as glue will stick to it. This is 8x8, and it is glued to my 4 pieces. And that is how I'm going to make my shadow box so that I can have a bigger shadow box instead of the small one. And this method will work for any size as long as you don't go bigger than 12 inches. Because remember, you only have 12 inches of cardstock if you're in the US. That's all I've been able to find. I think you can get 12 by 24, but I've never seen it, and I don't even know how you would get your hands on it. It can't be any bigger than this because your cardstock is going to be cut out. This is 8 inches. This is 12 inches. So we could make this outer size shadow box 12 inches. And if you're confused, that's fine. We're going to walk through it, but there are going to be more videos on how to use this method so that you can get more comfortable with it. Now, we are going to use this as the back, so it needs nothing. We're going to set it to the side. These are our 4 sides. And just like anything, 2 of them, the right and the left, are going to be plain. They are not going to be cut. the only thing they're going to get are their score lines. But 2 of them are going to be cut using our template. And we need all 5 sections. That's why this extra section is here. So let's start simple and let's score all 4 of our pieces. Now to make this 8-inch shadow box, I cut my cardstock 8 inches. To make this shadow box 3/4 inch thick, I cut my cardstock 5 times 3/4. That makes this 3 3/4. Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because 1 is tucked inside. So let's do one so I can show you exactly what I mean. Again, I want an 8x8 shadow box, so this has to be 8 inches. We're going to take the first one and put in our scoring board. Again, this is a 3/4 inch, so we're going to go 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When we did the last one, there were only 4 because part of the back piece was the inside. We don't have that. We're making this a standalone side. We need 5. We need to do all 4 pieces the exact same way. And again, take your time and be straight. 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. Now I have all 4 with, I'm using paper that I don't really care for because I like this size, the side. There's 5 sections, and those 5 sections are what I want my shadow box to be. If I was making the 1 inch, then I would be making each one of these sections 1 inch. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches, not 3 3/4. So the only measurement you need to worry about is how big you want your shadow box. And I want it 3/4. Once you have all 4 pieces scored, these are 8 by 3 3/4, now comes time to actually cut them out. We're going to go back to our template because we are making these 3/4 inch thick frames. For the other ones, I was showing you to keep the Crafty Tina's in the right-hand corner. That is if you're using one sheet. If you're using the piece method so that you can make it bigger, you are going to put this in the opposite side. We no longer want to put this in the corner of our paper. We want to put this in the corner of our paper. So we're going to put our little L here. And what you're going to want is this little triangle to be in the upper corner of your paper. So we're going to move this. We're going to make a line. So we're getting rid of this. A line, a line, and a line, and we're getting rid of this. We are using this section when you're doing the 4-piece method. Because we did this side with the little corner, we're going to flip it over. Crafty Tina's is on the opposite side. And we are going to do the little corner that we're wanting to get rid of. And these are the pieces we take out. We want to do the second piece the exact same way. We no longer need to flip and turn a specific way. We just need to do it exactly like we did. Putting this here, we're going to get rid of this little corner and this shape here. These are going. We're going to flip the template Use our little T-square over here. And now we need to cut out our pieces. We're going to cut the little corner off. We're going to do an angle, a straight, and an angle. We're going to do an angle, a straight, and an angle. Makes sense so far? We're just following our little marks. We're going to have the little points. We're going to take the next one and we're going to cut off our little tip triangle. We're going to do an angle, a straight, and an angle. We're going to do an angle, a straight, an angle, and cut off our little triangle. Okay, now we have our top and bottom, and we have our two sides. We need to roll these up to form our tube. Let's start with the straight ones. The straighter you fold these, and I want the pretty solid color, the straighter they are, the straighter your shadow box is going to be. So line it up with the paper if you have to before you fold. Make sure they're all folded. See, this one would have been crooked because it was trying to fold unstraight. If you line it up, it folds better. And now I have two overlap each other so that I can have a perfect square tube. I'm going to lay this down flat. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to put glue here and then lay it flat. Just going to go down one side and up the other side, watching those fingers because we are using hot glue here. It helps to start in the center and work your way. And now I have the first part of my frame. Let's do the other one. We're going to make sure we fold straight, lining it up. This is great if you have two-sided paper and you only like one side. Oops, we have one more. Line up the side so that the edges are straight. That will help your lines become straight. This one's going to go flat, and these two are going to lay flat. So let's put our glue, again watching our fingers. Hold it with your fingernails, start in the center and work your way out. With hot glue, you have to be quick because it dries very fast, but here is the second part of our frame. Now let's fold up 3 and 4. These two are the same color on both sides, so I don't have to worry about which is the outside and which is the inside. The only thing you can really do is line up the edge of the paper with the score lines because there's no straight edge. Now this time when you round this one, your points are going to be flush to the other side. So we still have the cute little tube. We're going to lay it flat. And now we're going to put our glue on the little angled one. Get my glue going. He didn't want to, there we go. I'm not sure if this is cost efficient. I think it is to use the hot glue. I do know it is much faster. And now we have our pretty miter cut piece. Let's do the other one. Anyway, back to the hot glue. I do find that it is faster and I feel like it is sturdier. And this is the hot glue pen, not the hot glue gun. And the reason is because the tip is smaller. It puts out a much smaller bead of glue. Hot glue gun is going to be really thick and it's going to feel raised and it won't produce as good of an image. It's going to put too much glue. And now we have our fourth piece. This is the same thing we have for our frame. There's a mitered cut and the two sides were straight. So now let's assemble it. Now I was trying to glue these like this, but then there's no way to mash it. I did find an easier way. We're going to start with the top piece. So we're going to move these out of the way. We're going to start with this top piece. This piece, the largest, not the smallest, but the largest ends go lined up with your 8-inch piece chipboard. So I'm going to put it like it's supposed to be and pull it toward me so that it's flat. These pieces go all the way to the top, just like this. So I am going to put glue here, place this corner to corner straight down. Okay? And remember, we got mitered cuts here, so I'm going at an angle when I get to the end. And I'm going to put my first corner down and then my next corner. And now, guys, I have it perfectly lined up. I know it's very hard to see from a camera point of view, but it is perfectly lined up to the top. This is important to start straight because by starting straight, I can continue around my board straight. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to do this piece next. Now, the double part goes on the bottom. This is the double part. And the widest points go on the top. I'm going to lay it here and then flatten it down. I'm going to put my glue here and then corner to corner. I'm going to put my first corner down and then my next corner. And now I have a perfectly lined up bottom. So we have a top and a bottom. Now we're ready to add our sides. They also go double pieced down. You can have your edge on the outside or inside, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to be consistent and I'm going to have my edge on the inside because I don't think it'll matter. This is going to have a background added later, like this one. So this inside's not going to matter. Let's add these. Now we're going to go ahead and put them inside the miter, making sure they fit. We're not worried about the bottom piece. We're worried about how they fit inside. I'm going to turn this around so I can come inside with the glue. It's in there exactly where I want it, so I'm going to lay it down flush. When I hold this outside, this is going to pop up a little, just enough for me to get the hot glue pen inside. And just like that, my side is on. I'm going to turn it around, and now I want to glue the corner of the piece I just added so that it goes under the slanted cut to glue these two together. So it's going to go here and here, and it's just a little bit, but once you put it in there, it's done. So make sure you did that all in one swoosh so that as soon as it touches, it's glued. And now look at this. It's not coming apart. So now we're going to do this side, and we're going to keep it over here because I'm going to come in this way with my glue. My edge is going to be on the bottom, so I'm going to put these in the little mitered cuts. Make sure it's it's perfectly square. It's nice and comfy. Then I'm going to lay it down, hold the back side so that my glue tip can go underneath. And just like that, now we have to do the dot of glue in each corner. And one foul swoop, we got it in there. I'm going to tap this down a little just so it can touch the glue, and you can feel the warmth so you know it's touching. Get rid of the strings, and check it out, guys. We have built a shadow box that is not something we can do with the punch board. It is thicker, wider, and because we use chipboard, sturdier than any of the other shadow boxes we have done. So we have this one, which is the 1/2 inch. It is done the same way. You still have to make yourself a template. Let me see if you can see it better if I put it on something dark. You still have to make a template that is 1/2 inch. So this square is 2.5 by 2.5. You're going to come in you're going to come in a 1/2 inch because that's the standard guide. So you're going to make your mark at a 1/2 inch, make your mark at a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and that is how you get the shape. I made this in another video for you guys. I will find that video and put it in the link if I can. I believe it's called Making a Shadow Box Without the Shadow Box Punch Board, or Making a Shadow Box Using the Scoring Board. So if you're making the 1/2 inch ones, these sections are a 1/2 inch. That's how you know how big it needs to be. 1/2, that makes 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. And it's a square, 2.5 by 2.5. You're going to come in a 1/2 inch and then make your diagonals. And you're going to come in a 1/2 inch to make your little triangle cut out. If you're doing this as a 3/4 inch, the same rule applies. Each little section is 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4, a 1/2, 2 1/4, 3, 3 1/4. So it's 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. You're going to bring this line 3/4 of an inch from the edge in, and that's how you get your diagonals. And you're going to bring this little triangle in 3/4 of an inch to get your little triangle here. The same rule applies to the 1 inch. You're going to have 1 inch sections, 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That makes this 5 inch by 5 inch. 5 inch this way and 5 inch this way. You're going to do the same thing over here. You're going to bring this line in 1 inch, and that's how you get your diagonals. You're going to come into this. This is going to be a 1 inch line from the edge. This is also going to be in 1 inch. That's how you get your diagonal. And also, this is not a requirement to have a little L, but this worked really well. Having this to hold your paper and hold the template worked fantastic. Kudos to husband. He's always making me all these wonderful things so that I can keep crafting. Now, decorating this is a whole nother game because this is a lot of space. It's sturdier, but another thing is it's thicker. So while we can make these frames, now we need to know how to decorate them. And guys, that's going to have to be another video because we've had so much fun here. I don't want to keep you. I want you to be able to go to the craft room and give this a try. Now, before we go any further, I want to make sure you like and subscribe. Subscribe to this channel because we are going to be making more shadow boxes. We're going to be using what we've learned here to make different sized shadow boxes. So let me know what you think, but make sure you subscribe, ask all the questions you want. Make sure you go to my Facebook page so that you can get more information because we have a lot of people there that will share their ideas and their shadow boxes so you can see actually how these shadow boxes are going. I really love this, guys. I love that we can now make our shadow boxes, and people that do not have the shadow box punch board because it's unavailable can actually make shadow boxes along with us. So we've made really good progress here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please put them down below. I will be doing more videos explaining how this is made. I wanted to show you all 3 sizes here In future videos, I will do one size at a time so that we can really get the concept of how to make these shadow boxes. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, happy crafting.